Former state assemblyman and veteran public television host Steve Adubato is now conducting two separate half-hour interviews with New Jersey gubernatorial candidates Jack Ciattarelli and Mikey Sherrill. Decision 25 is a two-part special. The first half-hour interview with Jack Ciattarelli will premiere Saturday, October 4th on 13 and will repeat on Sunday on NJ The second half hour with Mikey Sherrill will premiere the following weekend on October 11th. Steve Adubato Jr. joins us now on the WBGO Journal. Great to see you, Steve.
Always great to see you, Doug. Looking forward to another compelling and engaging, unrehearsed conversation.
Your two-part special looks into the impact of federal cuts to Medicaid, New Jersey's energy crisis, trust in public health, and the importance of affordable, accessible childcare. Steve, this gubernatorial race is considered to be very close. After speaking to both candidates, are there campaign ads focusing on the right issues?
No, they're not even issues. It's blaming each other for high energy costs, blaming each other for the lack of affordability, um, challenging and questioning and attacking each other's character, track record, whether it's in the military or as a business professional in Jack Ciattarelli's case, and obviously the military background of Congresswoman Sherrill. Doug, it's not even relevant to people's lives. Yeah, character matters, but do you really find out about the character of someone through these 30-second spots, which are intended to throw mud, dirt, and crap all over your opponent? I just feel as if, and I know I'm on my democracy is in danger soapbox, but we're in danger in large part because of the way these campaigns are run, because they're not serious, they're not substantive, and they don't really talk about things in a way that matters in people's lives. That's what we tried to do with these interviews.
Republican Jack Ciattarelli nearly defeated Democrat Phil Murphy
Yeah.
4 years ago. So, what was your biggest takeaway from this interview with Jack?
Jack Smooth. Jack Smooth. He knows how to handle himself in a public situation when you're challenging him. But I'll say this. I respect him. He's a likable person on so many levels. But on the issues, I'll say Jack Ciattarelli has some challenges around the actions out of the Trump White House and the impact of those actions on the state of New Jersey and the 9.23 million people in the state. I pressed as hard as I could on questions of federal cuts to Medicaid. He basically argued that there's a work requirement. It doesn't cut anyone. The facts may say something different. I asked him about using the military, using the National Guard in urban communities, including Newark, to deal with crime issues. Literally, as we're taping today, military forces are going into Portland. I don't know. It's not enough in my mind to say under my administration, a Ciattarelli administration, will have such a strong administration on crime, there'll be no need for that. The question is, what do you believe the appropriate role of the federal government, the White House, and the military is as it relates to coming into communities where the community leadership and government, they don't want you? Those are complex issues. I tried the best I could to get Jack Ciattarelli to respond directly. People can decide for themselves. Again, handles himself well. I think his biggest edge is on affordability. Biggest edge is on saying, if you're tired of Phil Murphy as governor, vote for me. But it's more complex than that because he has an albatross around his neck named Donald Trump.
So, the same question for Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. What was your biggest takeaway from interviewing her?
Mikey Sherrill's smart. She's thoughtful. Um, she's I don't want to use the word cautious. She's very clear on what she wants to say and what she doesn't want to say. I asked her about how the heck this day one executive order for, energy prices. That's it. We're going to freeze energy prices. I'm not sure exactly. Listen, this is tough stuff, Doug, because the process is that the Board of Public Utilities in the state of New Jersey regulates those prices that can be charged by energy by PSC&G and other organizations that provide electricity, energy, et cetera. I don't really know whether she can do what she said she was going to do, but it sounds great in a 30-second spot. My job was to try to break through it and understand that. When we talked about childcare and affordability, I would say that her track record in Congress is very strong in that regard. But the question is, being a member of the legislature, which I know a little bit about from a previous life in the state legislature, not the same as being an executive. You can propose anything in Congress, anything in the legislature, make a speech. As governor, you got to execute, get it done. I believe she wants to do the right thing in implementing policies around childcare. It's going to be very challenging to do that if, in fact, 10 different agencies are involved. So part of what we're pressing is how the heck would you structure your government so you could actually respond to the child care crisis and not have child care organizations dealing with 10 different state agencies, which is impossible. I asked both candidates those issues. People, again, can decide for themselves. You know, it's like, Doug, it's like I know how to get more clicks. So do you. But what we do, how we do it, the way we ask questions, what we ask questions about, substantive, meaningful stuff, sometimes you don't get clicks because it's not provocative and nasty and negative and there's a UFC fight somewhere or a WWE fight coming. That's not who we are. It's not about being boring. It's about being substantive. Challenging sometimes to get people to engage, but to help them understand it impacts their life. That's what the Journal does every week. That's what we try to do on State of Affairs.
So, on State of Affairs and all your other shows, you've interviewed hundreds of politicians, gubernatorial candidates, governors. What did what surprised you from these interviews this time around?
You know, it's so interesting. I appreciate you saying that about previous governors because I often think back. On some level, the governors I enjoy interviewing the most are the most challenging for me, meaning they're great communicators. They speak very directly, they speak bluntly. They also understand the issues. And people like Chris Christie. Doesn't mean I agreed with everything he said, doesn't mean I like the way he said it. But I would say this, that's fun, that's interesting, that's engaging, and it is substantive. And Governor Murphy, a very different type of interview. I would say that I'm not sure what surprised me, but I would say this. Jack Ciattarelli's doing this for the third time. He should be pretty darn good on his feet, and he is. Mikey Sherrill is going from Congress into this. That's why you see a lot of these ads where early on she was not as confident and strong in what she wanted to say. I would say this. She's done her homework. Her team has worked hard with her. She is much more clear, confident, concise about what she wants to say, why she wants to say it, and how she says it. Not surprised, but pleased because you have two candidates who have very different views of what it would mean to be governor, very different views on how to deal with the Trump administration, very different views on immigration, energy policy, affordability, etc. Now it's a fair fight. I'll see what happens.
Do you think what either candidate has to say matters when people go to cast their ballot this time? Are they already decided on who they like? Do they need to get information from debates, this interview, your interviews, or have they already made up their mind?
Many have. Many who are Donald Trump, President Trump fans, devotees, if you will, when they see President Trump endorsing Jack Ciattarelli, oh, Jack is with the president. Now, Jack wasn't always with the president. If you look at his comments back in 2015 saying the president really wasn't qualified, Donald Trump wasn't. And I asked Ciattarelli about that. And as I said, Doug, good on his feet. Yeah, I know. First thing he said was, Marco Rubio said worse than I did, and he's in the administration. Look at the vice president, J.D. Vance. He said worse than I did. He's his vice president. It's not a bad answer, even though, let's just say, look at what he said in 2015. So the Trump people are likely to be with Jack. Those who dislike Trump, they're going to be with Mikey Sherrill. I still believe there's between five, and I'm not a big poll guy because I don't understand all the process of the mechanics of how they do it, and I do question the accuracy of a lot of these polls. I believe there's between 5 and 10% of the folks out there who are not for Trump, against Trump, for Murphy, against Murphy, and are trying to gather as much information to make the most informed choice possible, and they're on the fence. And I think those are the people who ultimately decide who our next governor is in January of 26. There's a few left, Doug. Not many, but a few.
We already mentioned that Jack Ciattarelli nearly won the election last time around. Is it all about
Three
people
points.
showing up at the polls? Is it all about if Democrats come out strong, then then Mikey Sherrill's going to win?
If women listen, the one area where the polls are pretty accurate is the divide between men and women in this race. However, if Mikey Sherrill can energize women, particularly in suburban areas, to come out and vote heavily, it's a big edge. If minority voters in Newark and Jersey City and Orange and Trenton and Camden come out and vote for her and get excited about her candidacy, she's in good position. I don't know if that happens. I just don't know. If Ciattarelli can make his campaign not really against Mikey Sherrill, but against the Murphy administration, for those who didn't like the governor, um, he serves in a very difficult time, by the way. COVID's COVID. And I challenge anyone to say what they would have done differently because Governor Murphy had to make those decisions in real time. Point being, I think that even though there are almost a million more Democrats than Republicans registered, I think that is not ultimately what decides. It's who comes out, where they come out from, and what energizes them to go out and vote. October is going to decide that. These debates matter, these interviews matter, but ultimately it is who gets their base excited to come out, not just to say they're going to vote if asked in a poll, but to actually vote.
Mikey Sherrill did not really campaign with Governor Murphy at all and is continuing to try to tie Jack Ciattarelli to President Trump. Do you think those are the right moves for her?
I'm sure that, well, let me put it this way. Mikey Sherrill does not win if she runs as a continuation of the Murphy administration. It's nothing against Governor Murphy. It's just people looking for change. I don't believe she's doing that at all. I believe she's attempting to establish herself as an independent candidate. I believe she does have to continue to make it clear where she disagrees with the Murphy administration. She did that to some extent in our interview on energy policy regarding wind. Wind policies in terms of betting the house, if you will, as some say, on wind. And it wasn't a great bet. But it's always just easy to say that after the fact. I believe she needs to continue to distinguish herself from the governor. By the way, that was part of the problem that Vice President Harris had. And I'm not saying it's apples to apples, but I will say this. When Vice President Harris had a really hard time saying where she disagreed with the president, President Biden, and Biden didn't want her to do that, to disagree at all, that was a problem for her. I don't believe Congresswoman Sherrill has that problem. She needs to do that. As for Jack Ciattarelli, I think it's risky to go down the line with Donald Trump. In the interview, Doug, people will see that there are certain areas he says he disagrees with the president on, but there are going to be some other huge issues where Trump policies directly impact the people of this state. I don't know if Jack Ciattarelli can go another month without being more clear about where he disagrees with the president and where he would challenge the president. Instead of saying, if I were governor, he wouldn't have to do those things. It's an okay answer. I'd like him to be more direct. And frankly, I actually do think he's more independent from President Trump than what he says. But I believe for whatever reason or reasons, he thinks he needs to say what he needs to say. But I believe if he were governor, I hope he would be more independent. And if Mikey Sherrill governor, confident she'd be independent as well and not just carry on previous Democratic gubernatorial administrations.
You kind of talked about this a little bit, but what plan of Jack Ciattarelli's do you think actually could make New Jersey better?
Plan or see the whole thing about day one. On day one, I'm going to do this. Well, President Trump said in 24 hours he would end the war. We know the war. We know where we are. It's so easy to say those things. When you say plan, Doug, let me just say this. Sound bites are not plans. The things you say in a debate, things you say in an interview with Adubato, and it's pithy and you can get away with saying it. And I can only press someone so hard because I'm running out of time, just like you as a broadcaster, journalist, we have finite time. Plans are different. Plans to execute how to really reduce energy costs, how to really make housing more affordable, how to really make childcare more accessible, quality childcare that is, in fact, yes, affordable. That takes in the weeds, detailed plans, execution of those plans. They don't talk about that in a campaign, and you can't. People will be bored by that. But what bores people in a campaign, Doug, that's what governing is. You know, that's what
Well,
governing is. It's not always sexy.
I know you talked about political violence. Uh,
We talked about that in the, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry about
what do what do you think about how the political violence will that impact people at the polls? Will that make a difference? What were your thoughts after you interviewed both candidates on that?
I am I'm so disappointed, Doug, when people who are very ideologically focused only exercised when a horrific situation, a horrific event, a murder, if you will, happens, like what happened to Charlie Kirk, his wife and two small children there. I have no idea how people can even begin to say, yeah, but look at what he said. I don't get it. To me, that kind of violence, to me, what happened to Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, attacked in the middle of the night with a hammer. To me, what happened to Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, what happened to the legislator and her husband in Minnesota. How is it, Doug, that we ever got to the point that certain people only seem to care when people they agree with or like are either murdered or attacked or assaulted? Political violence is political violence. Where someone's position is on an issue or what party they're in, whether they're MAGA or left or progressive, why does that matter? I'm only going to care about the people I like who are attacked, murdered. That's pretty sick. I don't get it. And I talked to both candidates about it. And again, people will decide for themselves what the candidates said or didn't say about that.
This is not an easy question to answer, but
You never do it. By the way, I want to blame you for something before you ask me. We did, my mother still talks about this, as do some others. You did an interview with me honoring my late dad, talking about his career. And you made me, you pulled an Oprah on me, Doug. You made me cry talking about my own man. And it wasn't my plan. I'm just going to say that. So go
well,
ahead, ask me the hard questions.
that's because you cared. That's why. I mean, that's not me. That's you. That
Yeah, well,
you
you're not going to
care.
make me cry now, right now. So go ahead.
No, I don't think we're going to cry when we talk about the gubernatorial race. But I will ask this. Do you feel that no matter who wins the gubernatorial race, can New Jerseyans feel better about their state?
Wow. Feel better?
Yeah, I feel like things are moving in the right direction. I mean, the biggest thing that everyone has always talked about are property taxes and schools and things like that. Will we see significant change no matter who wins? Or will it be just a new administration with their ideas?
Doug, I could give you a cliche answer and say, because I want to remain, listen, those of us in the media who do what we do, particularly those of us, me, you, others who care deeply about the state, and we believe media has a role to play. We've got to be somewhat optimistic. I don't mean fantasyland optimistic, but positive that things can be better. I'm going to answer it this way. I don't know. I don't know. And the reason I don't know is I genuinely, in the end, can have a sense of what I think either Jack Ciattarelli or Mikey Sherrill would be like as governor, what their administration would be like, who they would put in key positions, how they would deal with the Trump administration moving forward as decisions are made out of the White House that directly impact the lives of over 9 million people. I don't know. And anyone who tells you they do know and therefore they're optimistic for the people of New Jersey because of that, they're making up a story. They're selling you something that they have no right to say because we don't know. I can say if Jack Turley wins, I think he'll be more independent and challenge the president. I don't know that. I could say that if Mikey Sherrill wins, these are the things that I believe she will do that matter in people's lives. I don't know that. I could think certain things. That's what those of us who are broadcasters, commentators, analysts, we can think stuff. To say we know is foolish. We don't know very much, for sure.
One of the great things about these interviews is that it can be seen on 13, NJPBS, News 12. So you got to be able to catch these. Tell us again, it will be in two parts this weekend and the following weekend.
Yep, NJPBS, while NJPBS still matters in the region and there's going to be public media moving forward. And by the way, I would be remiss if I did not thank our partners at the WNET Group and JPBS. We've been partners with them for the last 15 years that WNET has been operating in JPBS. So kudos to them for keeping things alive. Things will change on July 1st. We'll see what that means. But not only on PBS stations in the region, including WHYY in the South, they will also be on a range of digital platforms. And people should go on our website at Steve Adubato, that's Steve, Adubato, .org. Tells you every other digital. Doug, you know this. You have to be everywhere. You have to be everywhere. And that's what we're trying to do.
Fantastic. And we look forward to hearing the entire interviews coming up this weekend and next weekend. Steve Adubato Jr., always an honor to talk to you, sir.
Right back at you. A very great honor to talk to you. All the best, Doug.